Hey guys, welcome. So today we're talking about why I track my everyday makeup usage and how I do that. If you are somebody who is doing Project Pan or some sort of usage project like Project 10 Uses or whatever, you probably already naturally have some form of tracking. What I'm talking about more specifically today is why I track my everyday makeup that isn't necessarily part of a project pan, as well as the project pan stuff too. Makeup that I bring in during a shop my stash and all of that. This might be something that's a little bit overkill for some people. Like they might just track project pan stuff and everything else that they use that month, maybe not so much. I didn't always track my everyday makeup. Would just bring makeup in and use it however, and that was fine, I guess. As a few months went by, I kind of wanted something a little bit more concrete. I'm really trying to get to know my makeup and how I feel about it. I wanted to start keeping track of the frequency of how I was using each of my makeup products, right? I kind of needed a system and something that I could see visually to kind of help me understand my patterns with makeup and make things a little bit more obvious for myself. I kind of take it for granted and I think that I can remember all this, but as I wear makeup every day, but you forget stuff. Like our brains aren't meant to remember all of that if that's what you're trying to do. Out of curiosity, I wanted to see how many times I reached for certain things, what I wasn't reaching for, and dig a little deeper and figure out why wasn't I reaching for certain things? Is it because I pulled it in and it was the wrong season? Did I pull in an eyeshadow that just doesn't work for a lot of my maybe outfits or like vibe or whatever? Like, do I just not like that item? Tallying my makeup usage does help me see those things visually and help me kind of be more intentional with how I'm using my makeup every day. Sometimes tallying makeup informs the makeup I'm wearing that day. So for example, if I notice that I'm not reaching for a blush a lot, I might make it a point to start using that blush a little bit more. And other times it doesn't. Sometimes it just makes me realize I truly don't like using something, and no matter how I play it, I just never want to reach for it, or just, is a product I can't see myself wearing or wanting to wear. It might help me declutter that item sometimes. So all of that I get from tallying my makeup. I know that when we do our makeup every morning, the last thing we feel like doing is writing things down, but I found that it's almost like addictive in a way and satisfying. Even though it is an extra step, it is something that I get a lot of pleasure out of, strangely. And I think for that reason alone, it's worth it. I don't know. But for all those reasons above, that's why I do it. Again, that's not for everybody. I understand, it might be a little too much and a little bit extra. I also decided to make this video because I myself am interested in systems that other people have. I'm always curious, like, when people are tracking their makeup, like, how do they do it? Do they do it on their laptop? Do they do it in a notebook? Like, just pure curiosity. It was hard for me to kind of find videos on this topic, even though I think I've seen like Christina Chang, who does a lot of project panning. She shared a little bit in one of her vlogs how she did it, and I was like, well, I figured it might be something that somebody out there wants to maybe see as well. At least I hope so. So we'll see on how many views this video gets. But anyway, that's why I do it. Even if it is for project pan or whatever, or usage projects, it is a form of feedback for me, and it is a way that I can see what I'm not feeling that month, what I'm liking, what I'm not liking, and then ask myself, like, why, and is it worth actually keeping this item, or maybe I just am better off using this a different time of the year, kind of a thing. I mean, it could go a million different ways. I use a bullet journal to track my makeup usage. This is also where I keep my makeup inventory. I'm kind of old school like that, pen and paper. I just like writing. I know people do it, maybe Excel or something, or have a spreadsheet of some sort. I just prefer to do it this way. Plus, it's easier for me when I'm getting ready just to kind of open it up like this and go. This is like a bullet journal that I got from the Muji store. It was very inexpensive. It was like $4. As the grid-like paper. I don't do a lot of decorating and stuff like that. I'm very basic and I just literally make lists in here and jot things down. So let's get into how my spreads, I guess, I don't even want to call it a spread. It's literally lists. How my lists might have changed in their appearance, how I've changed my systems or tweaked my systems a little bit month by month to help myself keep it all together between all these projects and updates, how I keep myself from not losing my mind when I'm updating you guys on my project pan stuff, on my everyday makeup usage, all that jazz. Let's just get into it. All right, so you can see here, this is when I started tracking my makeup in November, this little top piece right here, and I just was strictly tracking project pan stuff. As we get down here, this is December. I started, doing all my Shop My Stash stuff in no particular order. I kind of just threw everything on a page and did tallies and then forgot to put lipsticks on there, so I added that on the bottom. So that's what December looked like. January is when I started to get a little bit more organized and put things into, their proper categories. If it was a palette, I literally would list every single eyeshadow in that palette just to see what shadow shades I used. Yeah, the bronzer, eyeliners, blushes, everything was kind of organized. And then February, I kind of did the same thing. If I added other products in that weren't necessarily in my Shop My Stash that month, I, kind of threw those down here. Same here. You can kind of see that there's like a random little strip here of eyeshadows that I kind of threw in there just so I could continue to keep track, but that wasn't part of the original lineup. I write all of my eyeshadows down. Doesn't matter if it's in a project pan, Shop My Stash, whatever. If it's an eyeshadow that I have intentions of using that month for whatever reason, it is listed so that I don't lose track of any of them. I put them all together here. I don't have like a separate project pan book or anything. I keep it all in the same page so I can automatically see what needs work with what. I might like separate them, like these are my project pan ones, these are whatever, and these are my Shop My Stash. I might do something like that, but they're pretty much all on the same page so I can see everything automatically and not switch back and forth between different books and stuff like that. I just want everything in one place. All right, so then we get into March. We can see that it's getting a little bit more neat and organized. And as you come to April, you'll start noticing that I started tracking my usage products with these little blocks here. If I wanted to use something 5 times or whatever, or however many times were left from the last month, I did it this way instead of with tallies, because I found that when I was tracking my makeup with tallies, it's not hard math or anything, but sometimes it would get confusing, like how many more times I had left to use something. And going back and forth between the month before and this month, I was like, wait a minute, how many more times did I have to use it? What was the goal? How many times was I trying to use it? So figuring out how many times I wanted to use it and then setting up the little squares for how much more I had left, I found that to be a lot more direct for me. So here, I still had to use, for example, this Ulta green eyeshadow. I had to use it twice, 2 more times to hit my goal, and this month in April, I only used it once. So then I would carry that one block over to the next month. You guys are very intelligent. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. These I was trying to use like 5 times. So this month I used it 3 times, and then I carried over these 2 squares to the next month, so on and so forth. This month is where we're at now. It's pretty much the same idea as all the other months. The other thing I also do is when I make an update on YouTube, which is usually around the 20th of every month, I box those tallies in so I know when to count the usage for the next updates. Since my last update here, I've used this shadow, for example, 1 time, and then, so boxing it up helps me keep track of new usage versus the last updates usage. So an example of, how tallying helps me understand how I use makeup. For lipsticks this month, I can see that I used a lot of my more nude lipsticks a lot more often. I think that might be true for a lot of people because, nudes are easier and you can kind of wear them with anything. So that's pretty obvious here. And it's also pretty obvious that I did not reach for my colorful lipsticks too much, which makes a lot of sense for where I'm at in life right now. I just don't really prefer to wear really bright lipstick. So I did need to push myself a little bit more to kind of use that. And I struggled a little bit with using those colors. Seeing this does help me understand that I want to try to make an effort to use those types of lipsticks a little bit more and get more use out of them, but also not to force it if there's a reason behind why I'm using it so infrequently. And yeah, so just some interesting things to note. And, just by seeing this, it really does help me understand my preferences, and it might help me ask the bigger questions. That's how I do it. It's really not fancy. These 2 pages are pretty neat, but this month starting to look a little crazy with all the colors. Good enough for how I like to track my makeup. So there you have it. I did not know that I was going to want to keep doing this. I was just going to try it for 1 month and see if I liked it. I certainly wasn't sure if I would like it. I mean, it did seem kind of like a lot, but I also really enjoy it now having done it. And it's kind of addictive too. Here we are in May and I'm still doing it, so for me, it was worth it. Definitely leave a comment down below. Do you track your makeup usage? Do you find that it's helpful for you, or do you just kind of, use your makeup however and you just don't got time for that? I get it, but it's also very satisfying and fun to do. So would I recommend doing this? I absolutely would if you're somebody who wants to have solid data to kind of inform what you do with your makeup collection. If it's kind of big and overwhelming, maybe you just want to understand how you use your makeup and what your patterns are and what your preferences are. I definitely think seeing it on paper is very helpful. Again, not everybody needs to do that. I kind of like something visual, and I kind of like keeping lists and checking things off and tallying things. Definitely consider giving this video a like and a subscribe. You're awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.